of all, I see some new to me faces, so I'm excited about that. On Tarot Unicorns and Coffee, this is an absolutely free event. However, if you feel like donating, you can certainly do that. It is not required at all, but I do give you that option. And I believe my assistant will drop that link pretty soon. And then the other thing I want to mention to you is that this is a group reading. However, if for any reason something resonates with you and you'd like a more in-depth private reading, I do also provide private readings, and you can go to my scheduling site to figure out how to book with me privately. So aside for that, we will go ahead and get into the, I was about to say the reading, get into this event. Chatting with Interstellars is an event where we get to sit with the interstellar energy. I channel the interstellars and ask them questions. In this particular format, it's a group setting, and it's meant to be questions of a general nature. So not specific to your personal situation. Again, there's different readings for that. So you might want to ask the question like, what do the interstellars think about smoking weed? Or what do the interstellars think about celebrating birthdays? It can be something that is not specific to your personal situation, or maybe you are going through something, but if you phrase it in a way so that the message can apply to the whole group, I would really appreciate that. Maybe you're going through grief like I recently experienced. And so your question would not be, how do I get over this situation? It would be, what do the interstellars have to say about grief, human grief? How can humans deal with grief? You know, things like that. So I hope that makes it clear. Kind of the format and the setup for this event. So a little bit more about who I actually channel. I specifically have what I have begun to refer to as the Sirian Council. I am a Sirian starseed, so I have Sirian roots, and I have friends who are Sirians, and I just refer to them as a council. That Sirian Council kind of collectively answers, and I channel them as a collective. But that collective also speaks to other star seed roots. So sometimes during the transmission or during the channeling, I will pause because my council is talking to someone else. They're talking to angels, sometimes talking to spirit guides, or talking to other groups that aren't Sirian. And then they relay the information to me, and I'll let you know when that's happening. Aside from the Sirian Council, I also channel my Sirian counterpart or aspect. I do believe that I have an alternate reality where I am still living on Sirian as my Sirian self, Sirius as my Sirian self, and also here on Earth. And those two parts interact. And so I often channel my Sirian counterpart, who I have recently begun referring to as Venus. Lots of other people refer to her as Venus. I've begun calling her Venus as well. And then aside from that being or energy, I also channel Sanat. Some of you are familiar with Sanat. In my other aspect, I have a working relationship with Sanat as well, so I'm very comfortable with channeling that energy or that being. So that's a little bit about what I channel and how I channel. When I go into channeling interstellars in particular, this particular energy, it works easier for me when a question is posed first. So sometimes I can get just a general, this is the message that's coming through for the collective, but I don't often just channel just to be channeling. It's also, it's usually I need a question and then they answer through me, and that works best for me. So however you are able to phrase your questions when it comes time to asking questions, that's why I do ask for questions instead of just sitting here and channeling, because it works best for me to the messages come through clearer when they are answering a question. Hope that makes sense. I think I have covered all the bases. I always set my space and invite the interstellar energies in before I begin the event, and that has been done, but I'm going to take a couple of minutes here at the top of the hour and ask us all to collectively do that. If you're not familiar with it, that's fine. Just ground yourself in whatever way feels comfortable for you. But I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath in, slowly let it out, and call all of your energies back to this present moment, feeling yourself being fully present. Allow yourself to connect to the divine, And we're asking that the divine open us up to be receiving of any messages that come through. And that the divine also protects us and provides us a sense of safety in this safe space. Not that there's anything to be worried about or any danger with these communications, but we just like to make sure that we feel safe and protected and divinely hugged and covered in love. And once you feel as if you have settled in and that you are connected to your divine source, we're then going to open ourselves up to allow the interstellar energies, beings, and those who have messages for our highest and best good to come and sit with us and be with us this evening. And we're going to ask that we can receive the messages and the information and the knowledge that they are wanting to share with us and be able to apply them in our lives so that we can benefit from them. And just take a deep breath in and release and just settle into this moment. And I'm going to take just a couple of seconds more to really connect in. And I'm asking in this moment if they have any opening statements or messages that they want to share with the group. We are ready. We are excited. We have been anticipating this meeting. We are delighted to answer any questions that you may have. Let's go. That's what they said. Let's go. All right. So I'm just going to I'm just going to select whoever I am drawn to ask the first question. Let me see if I want to do it that way. I'm receiving different direction from them. I'm going to ask you all to raise your hands if you have a question, and we'll just go that way. Ryan.
Hello, greetings.
Hi.
Yeah, I have a good question. A good question, I think. Everyone talks about our past lives and our past reincarnations, but they don't typically know or talk about, how do we plan our future lives or future reincarnations? Like, how long do we, as a spiritual being, plan in the non-physical our future lives? Because I've had thousands of reincarnations, and I must have put a lot of time into building and planning these lives that I've had in my galactic history. So, what do we, as a human or any species, what goes into building and pre-birth intentions, into building what you want to expect in a life? How long does it usually take? Could it take thousands of years, hundreds of years, or how is it done in the non-physical when you're planning to birth into a new reincarnation? That's it. Thank you.
Planning to birth into a new reincarnation. Okay. Or future lives.
Yes, or any future reincarnation.
Okay. So I'm going to start with this idea, and this is them reminding me of another set of things, and I'm not sure why they're reminding me, but I'm going to start there. And they are reminding me of beings who do not operate in time, meaning they don't have past lives or future lives. They don't even have memories or a remembrance. They don't have any thoughts of planning for the future. They just are. Everything is a present moment for them. They live, in the easiest way to put it for humans to understand, outside of time. And so we give you this as a reference point to help you understand that in your human incarnation, yes, time exists. There is a past. There are future incarnations. But we would just like to remind you that you exist outside of just your human incarnation. Many of you are aware of this. And many of you have lifetimes, to use that word, in a different meaning, in a different way. Many of you have the essence of who you are that just is, that has no time. As far as your question specifically to your human incarnation, the best way to prepare for future incarnations, to be future focused, and we love this question so much because it is accurate that many humans are not future focused on future incarnation. Many are worried about past incarnations and doing cleanup work, so to speak. So how do you be future focused? The best way to do that is the same way that you would plan for a future human event. You can visit with your soul self and have conversations with your soul self about what you would like to experience in your next lifetime, if you would like to incarnate as a human again. And during these visitations with your soul self, your soul essence, you can be as detailed or as vague as you want to be. Having these conversations is a starting point because you will also often get insight and information new to you, so to speak, about what to do in preparation for your future incarnation. What can you do actively in your present incarnation to prepare for future incarnation? This is a message that has been gaining momentum with Interstellar, and we will repeat it again here tonight. Lighten up, lighten your load. Future incarnations, especially here on Earth, will be lighter in nature. Anything that you can do that would help you resonate with the vibration, the frequency of your future self will benefit you in preparing your soul for that future incarnation. Letting go of the heaviness and the denser aspects of your humanness in preparation for a future incarnation is most beneficial. There are many ways to do this, and we will not get into the specifics at this time. Specifically, the person who asked the question, we believe that you are in tune enough to understand some of the beginning ways of doing this and what we speak of. So some of the work may be very similar to what you are already doing, but it will have a different focus point. You are not cleaning up your current incarnation because you feel as if there are some generational curses or trauma or karma or things that you have to overcome. In this case, you are cleaning up your current incarnation because you wish to lighten up, to be ready, to be prepared for a future incarnation. We would like to remind you again, as far as human incarnations go, that there are agreements and discussions discussed from you in non-physical before you incarnate. And many are of the impression that you have to be in that in-between dead, as you like to call it, space before you can have these conversations about your next lifetime. That is incorrect. You can have those conversations at any time. You can speak to your soul aspect right now about how you would like to incarnate the next time, 3 times from now, 10 times from now. You can plan out your future incarnations just as you would plan out a family vacation or a trip. Where do you want to incarnate? What do you want to do? What do you want your skill set to be? Do you want a family? You want to know family? You can plan all of these things out with your soul self. Now, there is a bit of forgetting when you incarnate, forgetting what you planned, what you talked about. That is irrelevant because that is just part of the human situation. So we would encourage you all to begin thinking, to begin focusing on your futures, period. And to begin planning your futures and to begin working with your soul aspect to set up the agreements, to set up the experiences that you would like to have. Does this answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for the answer. It was very good. Great answer. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Anyone else with a question? Hannah.
Yeah, I am wondering what the Interstellars think about humans' experience of disease, and then also, do they experience disease of some sort?
Question. I like that question. Let's tap in and see. Sanat always sits here on my left-hand side and he's nudging me. So I'm assuming that Sanat will be the one answering this question. Let me just connect to that energy fully, just one minute. Disease is such an interesting self-inflicted experience for humans. Humans were not designed to experience the many diseases that have plagued humankind since almost the beginning. And what we mean by not designed is your physicality was never meant to degenerate or to carry with it illness or disease or pain or hurt. It was quite interesting as we looked down at humankind and saw these things occurring. Many of us ask, where did that come from? It's almost as if it was a new creation, an unintended creation. So what do we think about disease? We think there is nothing that has ever happened to a human body or ever will happen to a human body that should ever be considered incurable. Again, I will use the term self-inflicted. There's a separation from who you truly are that causes your body sometimes to scream out in pain, other times to exhibit a disease. All of this is in one form or another, just a symptom of a separation from who you truly are. And so since It was never intended for humans to separate from the knowledge of who they truly are. When this occurrence started happening, and when we started seeing humankind die and be afflicted, it was as much a surprise to us as it was to humans. If anyone is dealing with any type of disease, sickness, illness, whether it is mental or physical in nature, we want to first encourage you and let you know that it is absolutely, unequivocally curable from our standpoint. There are many doctors and medical institutions and different types of medicine that have been invented as a result of the diseases and the pain and the sickness and the illness that humans experience. And for the most part, the doctors and the medical institutions and the medicines, for the most part, what they are doing on an energetic level is helping reconnect you to who you truly are, helping to reconnect you to health and wellness, love and joy and peace in your soul. So we absolutely encourage the use of any of those methods. The way we see it, you all created a problem, and then you all created a solution to your problem. And so we are celebrating that. And we are also able to aid in this healing work. Many of you work with healing modalities. You call in angelic healing. You pray to God for healing. You ask us for healing. You have so many different ways of returning to who you truly are. And all of this is encouraged. Disease is not something that you need to carry with you. Disease, sickness, and illness is something that can be removed from you individually and removed from humankind collectively. And even though it looks as if new diseases and illnesses pop up every day, we would like to encourage you that from our viewpoint, collectively, humans are moving towards health and wellness, towards joy, towards love, and towards peace. I would like to note that this is, I can feel the energy of some of you questioning this due to the worldwide pandemic that you all recently experienced and are still experiencing. How can this be when the entire world suffered? The entire world got to what we see as a breaking point, where enough was enough. And they collectively experienced and were aware of, on an energetic level, a separation of themselves from who they truly were. And so they collectively experienced a mass pandemic. This was an awakening for some, for many. And this awakening has caused many to search for that connection again, to search for who they truly are, to find the health and wellness, to find the cures, to find ways to restore their natural state of being. Even if they are not fully aware that that is what they are doing. From our viewpoint, we see that that is what humankind is doing. And so we encourage you to continue pursuing whatever way that you can to deal with whatever afflictions, self-inflicted afflictions that you are dealing with, whether that be through medicine, metaphysical, energy healings, whatever works for you. We encourage you to continue doing that. However, the only thing we would like to add is that you do so with the mindset of, I am returning to my natural state. I was never meant to experience this. And that everything is curable. Does this answer your question, or do you have a more specific question regarding this topic? Oh, there you go.
There we go. I have many questions from that, and I feel like I could have a full conversation, but I won't. I'm curious to know, do they experience anything that maybe it doesn't look like our human experience of disease, but some sort of disruption of energy in a sense in their world?
Yes, absolutely. Interstellars are not immune to separating from our true self. There are many beings who experience the separation in different ways, but it would be considered a direct correlation to what you consider disease. As you mentioned, disruptions in energy, that is an excellent phrase or a way to describe it. It is, there is such a vastness to the amount of beings that exist. There are so many. And we all experience energy in different ways. And we all have the ability and the free will to connect to this flow of energy or to disconnect from it. There are many species, such as Earthling, yourself, who choose the disconnection just because they would like to experience what it feels like to be disconnected. So no, humans are not alone in this. Many beings, many interstellars also experience disconnection from who they truly are. And it does show up in different ways. There are beings who do experience disease in much the same way that humans do. Of course, they would have different physiology and they would be affected differently, but yes, they don't necessarily call it disease. They have different perspectives on what's happening, but yes, in the end, it's all the same thing. And there are, this is almost being given to me like as a chunk of thought. So I'm going to take a second to try to digest it and explain it to you. What he showed me was their hope for mankind. And they showed me a civilization, I don't even know where it is, where they do, the separation is almost fun for them because they're connected and they're like, oh my God, I'm always connected. I'm always happy. I wonder what it would feel like to be disconnected. And so they disconnect for the experience, but they disconnect with the full faith and trust that it's just like for them, it's just like if you went over to your light switch and flipped it on and off and on and off and on and off. It's that easy for them. I can be disconnected and I can experience pain and suffering, and then I can get disconnected. They have no doubt that this state of disconnection is temporary, and they have no doubt that they fully control how long they choose to be disconnected. And they also have no conception of terminal illness. That just doesn't exist in their reality. So they're able to disconnect and experience what it feels like to stub my toe because I wasn't paying attention, and then be like, oh man, that was thrilling. I've never felt that kind of exhilaration coursing through my body and making tears come out of my face. And then they reconnect again and they're in full, complete wellness and health. And they know that their cells are going to regenerate. They don't really have cells. He just told me they don't really have cells, but they know that they're going to regenerate, and they know that they're going to be this forever eternal essence. We as humans are also eternal, but we often forget that. And we have gotten so disconnected as a collective that oftentimes someone will come to you and say, you have this illness and it's incurable. And you say, okay. And what they would like to remind us is what they would like to see for humankind is that we move to the same state as this other civilization that they're showing me, so that we can walk over to the light switch and flip on and off. We can decide, how long am I going to experience this? Okay, that's enough of that experience, back to health and wellness. So they're hoping that humankind's adapt that too, because they're telling me in this moment that that's how it was intended, and that it's not as foreign to us as we think, because we lived that way once before, where health and wellness and this experience of disconnection was just an experience, and it was never meant to be daunting or distracting to our life. It was just an experience. Does that help? Awesome. Any other questions? Ooh, look at the hands. Jillian.
I was wondering if they could explain their time in such a way that we could understand it. I know that, they don't live in 3D, right? You're laughing, where we have a day and a night. And I've always heard, okay, time is different there. So is there any way they could explain it so we could understand how it's different?
Ooh, just a light little question for Tuesday. Okay, I'm going to have to get completely out of the way on this one. So just a little bit of backstory. Some of the questions that you were asking are questions that I've asked myself. So it's like, I hear the question, I'm like, yeah, I know that answer. I'm going to channel them and let them talk to you, but I kind of know what they're going to say. On this one, I have no fucking idea. So I'm going to have to really make sure I'm connected on this one. Okay, give me just a minute. Time. Oh, I'll tell you who's stepping forward right away is a being I am not familiar with, and they are conversing with the Sirian Council. So there's definitely a discussion going on. This is a huge, big being. I don't recognize this. So let me sit with this and wait for the answer to come through. Time is not exclusive to humans. There are many civilizations among the stars that experience time, but in vastly different, unique ways than humans do. To give you an example, your time is dictated by the sun that you rotate around. Imagine if you were in civilization that had more than one sun, or no sun, or several moons. They would have a different way of relating to and keeping time. We're just saying that to help you understand that Although time exists in other civilizations, it can be vastly different than how humans experience time. Day, night, 24-hour cycle around a large star. However, there are also civilizations, beings, in large part who are mostly energetic and less physical, who do not experience time. Many beings who do not experience, who experience energy, just beingness, just I amness, as humans like to say. You can imagine the closest correlation that we can give in this moment is the idea of a fetus in the womb. That fetus does not experience time in the same way that the mother does. There is growing that is happening, but for the most part, the fetus is unaware of the stages of growth. They just grow. They just are. There is no night and day for them within the womb. There are periods where they eat. There are periods where they sleep. There are periods where they move, stretch. As they grow and develop, they begin experiencing life in different ways, although they are still within the fetus. Blinking eyes, moving fingers and toes that weren't there before. But still, they just are. There is no time. There is no bell that rings to let them know when dinner is coming down. There is no light that comes on to let them know when it's time to wake up. They just are. And so even though this fetus is within the womb of a human who is very much living in a world dictated by time, and they are very connected. You could even say experiencing the same life. We have a completely different perception, or no perception at all, of time. Not as much how, that is the easiest way that we can describe Interstellar's connection to Earth time. If you can think of an interstellar as a fetus, where we are outside of the realm of time, yet still very much connected to humans on your planet. We are trying to understand time from the human perspective, and we can do a pretty good job of it just by perceiving and watching what's going on. So if we were to go back to the example of a fetus in a womb, if the fetus were intelligent enough to logically and analytically think through things as we are, there might be a point when the fetus realizes that I am being fed, and the last time I was being fed, well, I don't remember the last time because I don't really understand time, but it seems like it's been a while since I've had food. And so maybe this is a beginning or a start. Maybe this is breakfast. And so if you can kind of wrap your mind around that idea of interstellars having the perception of a fetus while still being connected to humankind, We are extrapolating data based on how we see you moving about and reacting. We are making guesstimates about what time means for you. We are getting better at it. We are understanding that the things that you do, there is a rhythm. There is a rhythm is the best word we can come up with. There is a pulse. There is a flux in energy that we can perceive and that we can make guesses and estimates and logical and analytical deductions about time. Although we don't experience it in the same way, or some of us don't experience it at all, we can still try our best to understand, based upon our observations of you, what time must feel like or what time must be for you. There are many, many civilizations that are advanced enough to accurately predict, even though predict is a time-based word, but accurately predict the time of human based on eons of interactions with human, based on advanced largely in part to those humans who are now choosing to connect with and talk to interstellar beings. If you have a connection, we would advise you to begin telling your interstellar connection what time it is, helping them see or better understand what it means to live in a time-based reality. It has been said many times that interstellars don't understand human time. Interstellars don't work on the same timetable. That is not entirely correct, because there are, again, many interstellar beings and races who have developed a way of understanding time, whether or not they experience it. And then there are still those who are like the very, very new fetus in the moon, who have no sense of human time at all. But these are different categories and different species and different beings, all experiencing this and dealing with this in their own way. So it would be inaccurate to lump all interstellars into the same bucket and say that none of us understand time. Many of us do, and many of us are quite accurate at understanding, relating to, and predicting it. If there is any moment where you feel as if your personal connection to the interstellar energies does not understand time, we would encourage you, based on whoever you might be dealing with, to first ask if time is even relevant to the discussion. And if it is, to step forward and be an educator for that energy to help them understand human time better. It's also a misconception to think that interstellars know all there is to know. We know a lot. Some of us know a lot more than human. But we also come here to learn from humans. There is no end to knowledge. Knowledge and information is infinite. And wherever we can find new knowledge and new information, we seek that out. And at this time, many interstellars are interested in learning from, communicating with, and learning from, gaining new knowledge and insights from humankind. So anything you can do to benefit this endeavor would be greatly appreciated. Do you have a more specific question about time?
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
That was a rough one. Oh, thanks, Jillian.
Mhm.
Paula, I saw your hand up. Do you still have a question?
Yeah, so it's kind of two parts or maybe two questions, but one, are all humans also interstellar hybrids? And why did we choose Earth?
Ooh, that's a fun one, and I've asked that one before. But let's see what they have to say. And this is Venus stepping forward. We and you chose Earth because Earth is fun. Is everyone on Earth a hybrid interstellar? Hmm. It feels like they're doing a census. It feels like they're checking to see like, is everyone there? So let me wait while they check.
That means a lot of us are.
The information that I'm getting is that we did indeed do a very quick census. And again, we are not gods. So we may have missed a few humans hidden under a tree or a rock. But from our vantage point at this time, we would say, yes, almost everyone on the earth at this time is a hybrid star seed, as you put it, in one form or another. However, we would like to indicate what they were showing me in the beginning, which is why I had such a hard time in understanding, is they were going back and forth in time. Like they were going back to the beginning and then they were going forward. And I was just like, okay, where are we at? What are we doing? And so what I understand now is that they were kind of culling through time and doing a count. And what they're showing me is that in the beginning, no, we weren't all hybrid. But at some point in human civilization, and I'm talking about way back when, at some point, we did have starseeds come down and intermingle with humans and upgrade humans and change our DNA. And from that point on, then those people had babies and, you know, it just continued to where there was a point to where almost everyone on Earth is, yes, a starseed or a hybrid at this time. But they just want to make it clear that there is a small chance that they missed some actual human who is an actual human. There might be some lineage somewhere where they never, you know, commingled and they're just human. That's a very real possibility. But for the most part, everyone is starseed in origin just because of the mass galactic interest in Earth, in coming to this fun planet, in playing around with this fun planet. So many starseeds from everywhere came to be on Earth because it was fun, to answer your question. And because of that intermingling, the human strain has been enhanced by, for the most part, starseed. So yes, most everyone at this time is a starseed, a derivative of a starseed, hybrid of a starseed, an offspring of a starseed in some cases. So let me see what else they're saying. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm checking to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. 80% sure I'm understanding them correctly, but it's a very complex message. And they seem to be saying that Earth was meant to be seated. So Earthlings were never meant to be human forever. We were created in such a way, and our DNA proves it, that we were built for hybrid status, for lack of a better word. And so, yeah, from way back when, they came in and did what they did. You know, it was all in cooperation. It was almost like, I've got to dig deeper in this. I love this question, Paula, but they're showing me like so much. I'm getting such a huge download in response to this question. They're saying that some of our myths and fables and even some stories in the Bible are trying to explain what happened as far as interstellar interaction. But overall, humans were created. It's almost as if humans were created in such a way that that was our purpose all along. And that is why the Interstellars have such a great interest in Earth, because that's what we were created for, to be almost like this blank canvas or this playground where they could come and see, oh, I want to deal with this civilization and let's make them breathe underwater and let's call them Atlantean. And so they did that and they saw how it went. So yeah, that's a real thing. And as it progressed, almost everybody now is a starseed in one way or another. Does that answer your question?
Yes, mostly. The Earth is fun answer. I'd love a little elaboration on why they say that, because I've lived many lives. I'm clear on that. And this one has not, it didn't get fun until about 15 years ago. And the first part of it was incredibly difficult. So I'm trying to identify, I think many of us choose Earth because of the challenges that we will face and overcome, which is fun, the overcoming.
Yes. I heard Sanat say when you said it wasn't until 15 years when I found the fun. And Sanat said, but you found it.
It's true. But that's why the question, do we choose Earth because of the challenges that we are given the opportunity to overcome? Is that partly what is the fun?
Sirian Council is talking now. We would not call them challenges from our vantage point. We would call them fun and we would call them experiences. So yes, to your question, whether you call them challenges or experiences, yes, it was considered fun from our vantage point. It was considered fun, just like the previous questioner, to flip the light switch off, to experience the darkness, knowing full well that you could switch it on at any time that you wanted. But humankind has forgotten over so much time that they could switch it back on. So yes, the human experience will always be considered a fun experience. And it is we could go on for a very long time about all of the things that we consider to be fun about your planet. We will highlight just a few. Blank canvas was a good way of describing human, and that has always been a fun interest for different civilizations to intermingle with Earthlings, to advance Earthlings, to play with Earthlings, to offer upgrades to DNA. That has always been fun and will continue and remain to be a fun aspect for Interstellars. And we say Interstellars and we mean you, for you all to begin manipulating your DNA and changing and understanding that you have access to bigger and faster powers than you are currently allowing yourself. So yes, that is a fun part of the experiment. The other fun thing is the way you all experience time. That is fun from our vantage point. Another fun thing is the way you all experience emotion. Even your birthing process and your reproductive process are considered fun and strange to many of us. So there are an infinite number of reasons why beings such as ourselves consider Earth fun. And we are sure that you, as a interstellar or as a non-physical, had your own personal reasons why you considered Earth fun. But yes, this is why you chose Earth. Again, yes, you knew when you came down that you would experience things that you could not experience anywhere else. In your human form, you label them as challenges or troubles, darkness. But from your lighter celestial star galactic form, you see it as fun, as something new.
Great answer. Thank you.
All right. Where are we at? Oh, we're almost at time. Lynn, I've been having so much fun. Lynn, I'm gonna take your question to make that the last question. If you feel like you have to leave right at the time, go ahead, but we'll go ahead and run a little bit long tonight. Go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, I have a question about healing. I was talking with an Akashic record reader because I was experiencing a little disproportional anger, and then she was talking about this being related to grief. So it's interesting that you brought up grief, and one of the things that she seemed to allude to is there was a way to really tap into grief at the level of kind of being ancient priestess energy, working with the elements and using grief to be that because it would have the strength to be the catalyst enough for alchemical healing. And I was wondering if you could talk about that, and from a practical standpoint, and by practical I kind of mean like, how would we do that? How could we tap into that, and what kind of healing would that pertain to in approaching grief that way? Is that something you might be able to address?
That's interesting. And I'm going to answer this from my own personal perspective as a practitioner, and then we'll tap into the Interstellars, and they're giving me the go ahead. This is based on a Marvel movie. I'm a Marvel fan. Vision said to his sweetheart, Scarlet Witch, "What is grief if not love enduring?" And I have held that close to my heart ever since I heard that saying. So if at the basis of grief, there is love and enduring, never-ending love, then if we can get to that love, of course we can get to healing, because love heals. So that's my overview answer, but let's tap in and see what the Interstellars have to say about grief and love and healing. We would like to agree with Valorie and also expand a bit on this. From our perspective, again, human emotions are fun. And human emotions are meant to inform you and help you along your path. If you can, ask yourself, what is this emotion showing me? And stay in a positive outlook or light about it. Then this will benefit you. For instance, in the case of grief, if you are grieving anything, generally grief is associated with loss. So if you are grieving the loss of something, and you ask yourself, what is this grief really about? And you can get to the deeper meaning of the reason why I'm feeling this extreme grief is because I love this thing, this person, this situation in such an extreme manner that feeling its absence causes me grief. but it is the fact that you loved it so deeply. And so if you can focus on the love, and if you can see from our aspect that nothing ever goes away, nothing is ever lost, only transformed, then you can ask yourself, how can I love the transformed version of this situation that I am feeling I have lost? How can I step back into love? And when you are able to step back into love, then you are able to heal. Does this make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. This has been wonderful. I have really enjoyed this. This is a monthly event, so I will see you back in May for Chatting with Interstellars. Bring your questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Val. This was
You're
awesome.
welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for my helpers. Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you.
You're welcome.